All right, welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns with me, your host, Logician Tim. This is the show where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? This is like a couple days this week where my audio has been messed up right when I start my stream, so I have to restart it. I hate it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, guys. Let me know if it sounds okay. I much appreciate it. I restart everything and I do all the stuff, like everything every time. Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, my dude. So, yeah, we are back and we are talking about this Cyberpunk Red RPG Jumpstart Kit, and I gotta say I'm really digging it. The world is absolutely fantastic, and I just really like the world. The writing is so, I don't know, the way they do it is so intelligent, where they kind of lead you into this world with all this information, but they leave gaps in there where you kind of fill it all in with your own imagination, and it just, I don't know, I just love this style, and it's kind of snarky and in your face writing, and I really like that kind of thing. So tonight, though, we're going to be talking about the game mechanics, okay? But before we can get into things like your actions and what you can do on your turn, we need to talk about measurement and movement and how all that is handled. So let's bust open the book here and talk about that a little bit. Where is it? Here it is, page 23. We're there. So Cyberpunk Red uses both meters and yards when for basically everything, all right? And they interchange them often. So sometimes they'll say meters, sometimes they'll say yards. And they say that the only difference between a meter and a yard is about 2 inches. And they say they do this so that they don't have to change measurements between like English and metric systems, and I understand that for sure. They do say that if you're using the maps that come with it, like a grid-based system, then each square on that grid is going to represent 2 meters or 2 yards, right? Because they're interchangeable. So just kind of let you guys know that those each square on the map is going to be 2 meters or 2 yards. Now, in movement, there are 2 different types of movement in Cyberpunk Red. The first one is called figurative movement, and this is basically your move stat. So you have a statistic called move, and so this is your move stat versus somebody else's move stat. All right, so you're going to use this to kind of determine, like who's faster in a foot race, or I'm trying to chase this person. How fast can I catch up to them? Well, let's just compare my move stat to their move stat. Right, that makes sense. Now, the other type of movement is called literal movement, and this is the measurement of actual distance, right? And it's usually used in combat. So every turn, a character gets a move action, which can only be used, to measure a number of meters or yards equal to their move stat times 2. All right. So it sounds a little weird, but since each square of the map represents 2 meters or 2 yards, you can move 1 square per move statistic, and this includes moving diagonally, right? So there you go. Just want to get that out of the way so you guys can understand how measurement works and how movement works in the game. Scott Hill says, as an archer, I know there's a big difference between a meter and a yard. Yeah, there is. And that, that's what they're kind of saying here, though, in the book, is that, as far as the game's concerned, it's not that much of a difference. So they're going to go ahead and use the 1. So I can understand that for sure. All right, let's talk about initiative real quick. And we're going to be talking about this a little bit more when we go over combat on the next stream. But this is the order that they described it in the book. And so I'm going to go ahead and cover it now as well. So when combat starts, everybody is going to roll initiative to determine, what order you're going to take your turns. And this order is going to stay the same until the combat is totally over. And then the next combat starts, you'll roll again for initiative. And how you roll initiative in Cyberpunk Red is that everybody's going to roll a 1d10, and you're going to add your reflex statistic, okay? The one with the highest score goes first, and then the next highest score is going to go second, and so on and so on. Now, if there's a tie, everyone that rolled a tie is going to roll again until a clear winner comes ahead, all right? So easy enough, very straightforward initiative system. I like it. Now, let's talk about your turn. So what can I do when it gets to my turn? Well, in Cyberpunk Red, you can make 1 move action and you can make 1 basic action on your turn. So for movement, like I said earlier, you get to move a number of squares that equals your move stat. Or if you're not using like a grid at all, if you're just kind of like, have minis on a regular table, or you're not using miniatures at all, then you're just going to calculate your move stat times 2, and you're going to move that many meters or yards. Okay. So now, so you got your move. So that's how you do your move on your turn. Now you also get a basic action. And so let's take a look at what kind of things that you can do on your turn that is constituted a basic action. But first, real quick, I wanted to read you this paragraph in the book because I just think it's really cool and it adds a lot of flavor. Scott Hill says, is the system designed to be played with a map and figures then, rather than theater of the mind? It's actually made for both. And so, yes, it has the squares there for you and the map for you if you like that kind of thing, but it's not necessary, and the combat system supports either one. So I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, great question, Scott. All right, I want to read you this paragraph real quick that they talk about with these basic actions, just so you can get the flavor of the book, because I just love the writing here. They say, basic actions are the bread and butter of your turn in Cyberpunk. Mastering them will allow you to do much more than attack an enemy on your turn in combat. You'll be able to choke a security guard that you grabbed last turn, dragging their body behind cover. You'll be able to coordinate a strategy with the rest of your team using the hold action to gain an advantage against superior numbers. I'll get it out. You'll be able to go to the edge like nobody else. Don't let the name fool you. Basic actions are anything but. So I just love everything is just kind of snarky and it's kind of in your face, and it's like it tells a story. Even the instructions almost tell a story in my head, and I just like the way that they did this. So yeah, let's talk about some of the types, some of the actions that you can take on your turn that are considered basic actions. Of course, you can attack, right? You can make a range or a melee attack. That's basic. They also have one that you can do called grab. And so these are kind of cool. This is where you can kind of grab a hold of someone, or you can actually take an object that they're carrying, or you can escape a grapple. It all kind of falls under this grab heading. So if you want to grab somebody, you're going to roll your dexterity stat plus your brawling skill or your athletic skill, whichever one is higher, along with your D10. All right, you're going to add those up. And your target is going to do the same. If the attacker wins, then they choose to grab a hold of their target, or they can take an object that target is carrying, as long as you have a free hand. But if you do decide to grab a hold of them, you're now both considered to be in a grapple. Okay, so both of you are in a grapple, and both of you are going to take -3 to all checks as long as you're grappled. Now, the defender cannot make a move action when it's their turn, all right? But the attacker can, and this is awesome to me. So the attacker can actually drag the defender around, and so they take a move action just like they would normally, and they drag this person around. I think it's kind of fun. It's not like they're on the ground. You kind of got a hold of them, right? And you're just kind of dragging them with you. And I think it's just awesome. The attacker can end the grapple at any time that they choose without taking a action, but the defender has to use their action to overcome that grapple in the same way that you got into it. And so they have to roll a successful grab against the attacker to break the grapple. So it's kind of fun, man. I really like that idea. It sounds like cool that you could just grab somebody, kind of pull them out, pull them into the alleyway or something like that. It just sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. Another basic action they have is called choke. And if you have somebody in a grapple, you can use your action to actually choke the defender. And this will deal damage equal to your body statistic directly to their hit points. And it ignores armor totally. Okay, so it pays no attention to their armor. Another one they have is called throw. And this is where you have somebody in a grapple. You can use your action to actually throw them down on the ground. And this is going to do damage, again, equal to your body stat, and it's going to ignore armor as well. Now, throwing them ends your grapple, so your grapple is now done, but it does leave them prone on the ground. And so when they're prone, they are unable to use their move action until they use a basic action to stand up first, okay? So it kind of stuns them almost for a round, right? Because they have to use that action just to get up. Speaking of get up, that's another action that you can take. So if you're prone, maybe because you just got thrown to the ground, then you can use a basic action to stand back up. And again, you cannot move until you take this action. Until you can take the get up action, you cannot move. Run is another basic action where you can use your action on this turn to make an additional move action. So if you want to move further or something like that, then you can just use it for another move action. You can also use a skill, and this is where you can use your basic action to attempt to accomplish like a really quick task. It has to be something that takes 3 seconds or less, okay? Now, if you do have something that's going to take longer than 3 seconds, you can do that, but you and the GM are going to have to come up with like, okay, well, this is going to take 3 rounds for me to do, and I'll just take my action every round for the next 3 rounds to try to do this, and then at the very last round you would roll your skill check to see if you actually succeeded or not. You can also use an object, so something like opening up a door or switching your shotgun out for your assault rifle, or picking up a weapon off the floor, something like that is considered a basic action. You can also use what's called net actions, and net runners, the roles or the class called net runners, they get these things called net actions that they can take instead of a basic action, and I'll be going over that further later into another stream. So because it sounds pretty cool, and I want to find out more about it. Then finally, what you can do is what's called hold action. And in combat, you can choose to hold off on an action until a specific number in the initiative order. So you can say, look, I'm going first, and I want to trip this guy or whatever it may be. Then I can choose to do that, but I don't want to do it now. I want to do it 5th in the initiative order. Okay, so that way when that time comes, then I can actually choose. I can still choose at that 5th initiative order to actually take that action, or I can just say cancel that. I don't want to do it anymore. Okay, so that hold action, I guess, is something that you can do as well on your turn. So pretty cool stuff. I really like the grab, the choke, the throw, all that kind of stuff sounds like a lot of fun to me. I like the fact that when you're prone, that you can't move until you use an action to get up. I like that kind of stuff. I mean, it gives some depth to the combat and allows you to have some strategy. And even like holding somebody and dragging them in the alleyway or something like that, it sounds like a lot of fun too. So yeah, cool stuff in here. Just makes my imagination start running on what I can do with these types of actions. So cool stuff. All right, let's talk about resolving actions with skills now. All right, so whenever your character tries to do something, called like taking an action, then there's always a chance of success or failure. So determine whether something you're trying to do is successful or not, then you're going to roll some dice, right? And there are 2 ways to resolve an action in Cyberpunk Red. The first way is to resolve an action against another living thing or person, right? So this is usually called like a contested roll in a lot of other RPGs, but here they just say resolve an action against another living thing or person. So let's just say that we're trying to convince a guard to unlock the door for us, right? He doesn't want to. Well, what we're going to do here, I'm going to be the attacker because I'm trying to convince the guard. He's going to be the defender. I'm going to roll the 1d10, and I'm going to add my relevant skill, which would be persuasion in this case, plus my relevant stat, which would be my cool statistic, and the guard is going to do the same thing. And whoever has the higher number is just going to win. Very, very simple. Again, this is sometimes called like the contested roll in other RPGs, and it's not here. So really basic, I'm going to roll my statistics, my relevant statistic plus my relevant skill, and add that up with my 1d10 roll, and there you go. Very easy stuff. Now the second way to resolve an action is against a situation, and this would be called like a non-contested roll, right? Maybe you're trying to pick a lock, and it's just you versus the lock, right? The lock doesn't roll a die. So in this case, what you're going to do is roll your relevant skill plus your stat plus a 1d10, just as before, but this time the GM is going to assign what is known as a difficulty value, or DV, okay? And there's a chart in the book that helps the GM kind of determine what a good difficulty value will be, kind of based on the situation. And it's pretty basic. Like, challenged is it says that this is something that most people can do without thinking about it, but which might be hard for a small child, and that would be a difficulty of 10. Every day, it says this feat is something that most people can do without a lot of special training, and that's a difficulty of 14. Now, the highest one is legendary. It says a once-in-a-generation feat. This is something people write stories about, a truly amazing accomplishment that will be spoken of in hushed tones for years to come. I love that description, right? And that would be a difficulty of 30. So, yeah, very, very difficult. Scott Hill on the Misfits of Tabletop Facebook group says, sounds like it's a much more rigid and structured system than the more freeform Cyberpunk 2020. I have not looked into the Cyberpunk 2020 yet. I definitely want to, especially after reading this. I'm really interested in, I want to play this game. This is awesome. So, all right. Now, when you roll a natural roll, like a natural 10, on your D10 when you're doing these skill checks, then you do what's considered a critical success. So a natural 10 on a D10, critical success. And when this happens, you're going to roll another D10, and you're going to add that result to your first roll. Okay, you only get one. So because if you roll up a 10 again, you don't get to add it. Add a second critical success. It's like a one-time thing, right? Now, conversely, if you roll a natural 1 on that 1d10, you're going to roll a critical failure, and it's basically the same type of thing, just in reverse. You're going to roll another 1d10, and you're going to subtract the result from your previous roll. Again, if you roll another 1 2 times in a row, that would suck. You don't get another critical failure, though. It's just like, you suck like twice as bad. But actually, like subtracting that 1, like the second time, if you rolled a critical failure and then you rolled a 1 again, that's actually a good thing, right? Because that's like you're only subtracting 1 from your previous roll. So that's actually a good thing. Yeah. All right, that makes sense to me. All right. So some conditions can actually make it harder to perform a task. So the example they give in the book is changing a light bulb is really trivial, right? Anybody can do that. But changing a light bulb in the middle of an earthquake is not so trivial, right? It's not such an easy task. And they give us a nice chart here that will add modifiers to your rolls based on certain conditions. The GM can kind of apply these as they want to your action resolution rolls. And they have this thing where it has like these conditions and the modifier values. So it says that if what you're trying to do, let's see, what does it say? Like if you've never done this task before, you can subtract 1 from your roll. If you're working with unfamiliar tools, then you might get a -4 modifier, right? If you're trying to perform a task secretly, maybe you're trying to do something, really silent, then you also get a -4. So they just have some of these examples right there for you. So pretty cool. Scott Hill says, I used to roll crit fails all the time in Cyberpunk 2020. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, the fails are some of the funniest parts. I like, who likes failing? But those make for the funniest stories, and it usually takes the game in a totally different direction. And failing is just part of role-playing games. It doesn't end the story. It just changes the direction of, the story. That's it. So yeah, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a change in the direction of the story. So, what else did I want to tell you guys about? Let's see. Oh, I want to tell you about what they call complementary skills. This was kind of neat too. So sometimes you can use one skill to actually benefit the use of another skill. All right, so you're kind of like chain reacting these a little bit. And this is called complementary skill checks. And when you do this, you're going to get a +1 bonus if you set this up right. And so let's say that you want to see if this person's lying to you. Okay, so normally this would you would use your perception skill for this, and you're going to roll your 1d10 plus your intelligence stat plus your perception skill. Okay, just like that's what you would do normally. But you want to get that sweet bonus, that +1 bonus to your roll. So what you can do first is roll a human perception check, which is another skill, human perception, to read the face and body language of that person. And so in this case, I would roll my 1d10 plus my empathy plus my human perception skill And if I pass that roll, then I would get a +1 to the skill check of seeing if that person is lying to me or not. You see what I'm saying? So I'm doing this one skill to see if I get a bonus to this other skill. Now, if I fail this first one, then I can still attempt the second one, but I just don't get that +1 bonus to it. So it's kind of a cool thing. I like that because it makes you like creative in trying to come up with chains to link your skills together. I really like that. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, you can also get a bonus to skill checks by taking extra time to do something. All right, so the GM tells you how long it takes to do the task, and you can get a +1 to your skill check if you take 4 times longer to do that task. That's a lot, but 4 times longer to do that task gets you another +1 to your attempt. So let's just say you're picking a lock, and it normally takes like 5 minutes. Well, you could tell the GM that you're going to take extra time, and now I'm going to spend 20 minutes picking that lock to get a +1 bonus to that pick lock roll. So I kind of like that too, that I have the choice to do that or not. Now, what happens if you don't have a skill, right? Let's say I don't have any skill in this area. What am I going to do? Well, if you don't have a skill, but you want to try something anyways, you have a few options to you. Now, first, you can just take your stat and add it to your D10. And since you don't have a skill, you won't add that in there. So it's just gonna be your stat and your 1D10, and they call that out of luck. So yeah, you're gonna take what you can get, man. Or you can use your luck stat to help give yourself a +1 for every point of luck that you want to spend on it. But remember that these luck points only refill at the beginning of a game session, so you want to use them wisely. Or, this is pretty cool. I don't know where this came from, but I really, really like this. You can use what is known as cultural familiarity. It's such a mouthful. So this is where your upbringing and your education can help give you an edge. And so they have a little chart here. So your education skill is on one line, and then your cultural familiarity is on the second line. So the first 2 levels of your education skill, you get no points in your CF. At level 3, you start to get 1 point. At level 6, you get 2 points. All right. And how this works is you're going to get, these are points you're going to get on your bonus roll instead of your skill. You'd be able to use these points on your skill check to add those right in there. And like I said, it's based on your education, which is pretty cool, because for every 3 points you have in your education skill, you're going to be able to move up 1 level on the cultural familiarity chart. And so I think that's kind of neat. It kind of entices you to put some points in there. It says stay in school, my friends, keep that education going, and you'll have that to kind of fall back on. So pretty cool stuff. So yeah, that's about it for the mechanics. Like I said, next time I'm going to be going over the combat in the Cyberpunk Red RPG, and we can learn all about damage and melee combat, range combat, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. All right, if you don't mind, go ahead and like the stream. Hit that subscribe button down there. You know, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. Share the stream on social media. You know, a lot of new faces lately after people have shared it on their social media, on forums, somewhere on Reddit, whatever. I really do appreciate that, guys. It does help a lot, and I do like thank you for sharing it. Also, I have a new Patreon set up. Finally, it's brand new, and I'm still kind of building it and adding stuff to it. I just ask if you like this content. I would just ask that you consider contributing to it monetarily. Please consider becoming a patron. And the link is down there in the description. Every little bit helps, and I really appreciate it. So that's about it for me tonight. You all have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next time with some combat, the Cyberpunk Red Jumpstart Kit. All right. See you.